Swami Vivekananda, the foremost apostle of Sri Ramakrishna, was gifted with prophetic vision. He dedicated his whole life to spreading the gospel of Sri Ramakrishna and exemplifying its practical applicability for the betterment of our society. For India, he prescribed not scattered bits of social and religious reformation, but a complete renaissance. On May 1st, 1897, a historic event took place at Balaram Babu's house at 7 Girish Avenue, Bagh Bazaar, Calcutta. The disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, both monastic and lay, had gathered together, and Swami Vivekananda had addressed them with the following words. From my travels in various countries, I have come to the conclusion that without organization, nothing great and permanent can be done. Thus, his long-standing wish to form an organization for the dissemination of Vedantic truths as taught by Sri Ramakrishna found practical expression. The association bore the name of him who had inspired many to become sannyasis and others to remain householders while practicing his teachings in everyday life. As Swamiji himself stated, Ramakrishna Mission was named after the holy man whose unique life and teachings had within 12 years of his demise spread both east and west, cutting across all boundaries. As part of the concluding program of the centenary celebrations of the Ramakrishna Mission, on the 7th and 8th of February 1998, a meeting of both monastic and lay disciples was organized at Belur Math to commemorate the establishment of this order, to remind everyone of the main principles which guided the movement, its aims and objectives. From all parts of India, devotees poured into the sanctified grounds of Belur Math. The Brahmacharins of the training center at Belur Math raised the curtains on the convention with Vedic chants. The speakers for the inaugural session were already gathered on the dais, which was decorated in saffron, green and white. The enormous portrait of Sri Ramakrishna, flanked by those of Vivekananda, and the Holy Mother, Sri Sharada Devi, looked down benevolently on the whole congregation and seemed to be presiding over it too. Swami Lokesharananda, secretary of the Central Committee for the Centennial Celebrations, welcomed the devotees. He called the event a reunion of the whole family of Sri Ramakrishna's monastic and non-monastic disciples.
Between monk and nun has been wiped out. We are all one at the feet of Sri Ramakrishna.
There was a common purpose and a common program for all in deciding how best to follow the footprints of the Savior.
I, on behalf of all of you, welcome you.
The benedictory address was delivered by the revered Srimad Swami Bhuteshanandaji Maharaj, President of Ramakrishna Math and Ramakrishna Mission. He described Sri Ramakrishna as a Yuga Purush and admitted that the God-man was indeed a difficult person to understand, as he was multifaceted, extraordinary, and displayed various aspects of greatness at different times in his life. He outlined the aim of the organization as one which helped people overcome their material constraints by making them realize their own divine nature and serve their fellow beings in a spirit of worship. In the absence of revered Swami Gahunanandaji Maharaj, Vice President of Ramakrishna Math and Mission, his message was read out. The message pointed out how Vivekananda had drawn inspiration and sustenance from ancient Indian scriptures and had successfully applied the principles to contemporary life and society to make living meaningful for one and all. The convention was now formally declared open by revered Swami Atmasthanandaji Maharaj, Vice President of Ramakrishna Math and Mission. In his inaugural address, he inspired the audience to be fit instruments of Sri Ramakrishna by working for the fulfillment of the objectives of the mission efficiently and effectively. He stressed the fact that the devotees, followers and admirers should imbibe the spirit of the organization rather than just contribute in money and kind to its philanthropic activities. The vote of thanks by Swami Smaranananda, General Secretary of Ramakrishna Math and Ramakrishna Mission, moved the whole assembly. He described all devotees as children of Sri Ramakrishna and the Holy Mother, and thus were related to each other, irrespective of their caste, creed, color, religion, age, or sex. The inaugural session ended with a devotional song by Swami Purushottamananda, the head of the Ponampet Center in Karnataka. The audience broke up to have tea, and the sunshine and greenery and the lawns blended with the serenity and solemnity of the occasion. There was a lot of anticipation in the air, tinged with feelings of bhakti. The inquiry and reception booths, manned by the men in saffron, with the help of non-monastic volunteers, were flooded with a variety of requests. People with different religious backgrounds and hailing from different parts of India flocked back to the pandal to join the next session. The second session of the convention met to discuss the Ramakrishna ideal and the Ramakrishna mission. The first speaker, Swami Prabhananda from Ramakrishna Math Belur, delivered the keynote address. He explained that the word mission did not belong to Sri Ramakrishna's vocabulary, but was introduced by Vivekananda. Vivekananda envisaged an organization which did not proselytize, which was non-political, which was universally acceptable, and which promoted fellowship between followers of different religions, thus remaining true to the God-man's teachings. He went on to enumerate the mission's objectives in his simple and direct way.
Catholic and universal in character. It is a good reflector of the song called Sri Ramakrishna.
Dr. N.V.C. Swami, former director of IIT Chennai, went on to explain that Vivekananda realized the importance of organization when he visited the West. Blending organization with selfless work, he hoped that the mission would flourish and grow with the blessings of its spiritual founder and ideal. Swami Purnatmananda, the editor of Udbodhan, in an eloquent delivery explained that Vivekananda had assimilated influences of Buddhism and Shankaracharya's Hinduism under the guidance of Ramakrishna. He had realized that every living being is a manifestation of divinity, and one could only serve them as such. This is the basis of the mission's diverse activities. Swami Sridharananda, Secretary of Ramakrishna Mission Shivashram, Lucknow, further elaborated that without sacrificing or compromising the spiritual heritage of the nation, the mission propagated the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna. He explained that there are many religions practiced by men and each leads to God. This respect for other religions and beliefs has its source in the Vedas.
it was left to Swami Vivekananda to express in precise philosophical language how could India's spiritual wealth be utilized by all of us to build up a new India.
Sri Mahadev Prasad Acharya, a delegate from Bikaner, said that not only charity but hope and guidance are required to make life worthwhile and bring the mission closer to Ramakrishna's dictates on universal acceptability. Justice M.N. Venkatachalaya, the chairman of the National Human Rights Commission, who chaired this session, rounded up the morning's discussion with his view that Sri Ramakrishna was the anthropomorphic manifestation of God. He believed that the mission was true to the ideals of the God-man and believed that in accordance with Ramakrishna's ideal of renunciation, one day the goal and the path to the goal would merge in the case of the mission too. One was left wondering how anyone could doubt the integrity of the mission at all.
The purpose is to realize the indwelling divinity. The means is intuition, not logic, not the working of the logical mind. The human mind works in a narrow circle, and all great truths are outside this narrow circle. It is through meditation and contemplation, delving deep into the recesses of the mystic depths of the spirit, that one realizes a glimpse of his own divinity.
The noon was quite cold, and the devotees waited patiently in long queues for their lunch packets. Most of the delegates had come with their families, and all were seen joyfully tucking to their lunches. Arrangements had been made for safe drinking at the Belur Math. The lunch break was enlivened by Ram Kumar Chatterjee's rendition of devotional songs, which proved to be a welcome interlude for many.
বৃন্দাবনে কুঞ্জ ছুঁয়ে প্রেম যমুনা বয় সরজু নদীতে নেমে দেহ শীতল হয়ে আবার বৃন্দাবনে কুঞ্জ ছুঁয়ে প্রেম যমুনা বয় শান্তিবাদে দুটির বুকে ক্লান্তি করে দূর শান্তিবাদে দুটির বুকে ক্লান্তি করে দূর একই দেহে রাময়ার কৃষ্ণ সুমধুর একই দেহে রাম কৃষ্ণ সুমধুর একটা রাতে একটা রাতে বেঁধে দিলে একটা রাত বেঁধে দিলে একটা রাত একটা রাতে বেঁধে দিলে দোকার সুখ একই দেহে রাময়ার কৃষ্ণ সুমধুর.
The theme of the third session was Role of Devotees in the Promotion of Ramakrishna Mission's Ideals. Justice Polok Boshu of Allahabad High Court opened the session with his keynote address. He mentioned that the very property on which Belur Math stood had been procured by the householder devotees of the mission. Swami Vishwanathananda, secretary of the Ramakrishna Mission Ashram at Cherrapunji, said that the devotees could help the mission first and foremost by practicing in their own lives the principles that Sri Ramakrishna has preached and thus becoming examples to the rest of the mankind.
এর জন্য ত্যাগ চাই, এর জন্য তিতিক্ষা চাই।
Dr. Lata Desai from Gujarat, a managing trustee of Seva Rural of Jhagadia, hoped that householder devotees who had professions of their own, like those who were doctors, nurses and teachers, would extend their services to the mission. She thus pointed out how everyone could in one way or the other contribute to the mission's activities.
Be a doctor, engineer, lawyer or teacher. We can work as a part-time or full-time basis as a volunteer.
Swami Nikhilatmananda, head of Ramakrishna Mott, Allahabad, inspired everyone by recalling Ramakrishna's message that there is hope and redemption for every sinner in this world, and the devotees could make others aware of this hope. They could also serve at least one person in their lives, if not the masses. Devjani Dasgupta, a delegate from Mumbai, had something very pertinent to say about the devotees. She reminded them that not everyone can respond to self-awakening easily, and that Vivekananda was more worried about the men who took more time than others to respond to spirituality. The conviction with which she spoke impressed one and all.
Thakur reprimanded him.
The last speaker and also the chairman of the session, revered Swami Bhaskarananda, minister in charge of the Vedanta Society of Seattle in the United States, spoke on how devotees could help monks by suggestions and improvisations in ways of reaching the masses and propagating the ideals of Ramakrishna. He also pointed out that the West too had given active devotees to the Ramakrishna mission.
What help they are capable of giving.
The day ended with a sitar recital by a very young Nilatri Kumar, who brought a fitting finale to the day. For those who were outstation visitors, food and accommodation had been arranged in Calcutta by the mission with the help of the state government and the Calcutta Municipal Corporation. Transport to and from the venue had been arranged for them. The fourth session had an interesting theme in how to hold on to the higher ideals amidst the complexities of everyday life.
As God, Allah,
Swami Jitatmananda, president of Ramakrishna Ashram Rajkot, delivered the keynote address. He explained that whatever be the name by which God is referred to, He is the interpretation of the infinite. The closest we can get to understanding God is through a person with divine powers and understanding. And Ramakrishna was one such person.
Man, since you have been born, the only aim of life is to manifest tremendous world-shaking power, joy, purity, holiness, whatnot, lurking inside you.
Swami Shuhitananda, Assistant Secretary of Ramakrishna Mountain Mission, pointed out that the strength to get through life and get closer to God lies living up to Sri Ramakrishna's teaching. His life and those of his direct disciples show the way to godliness. He stressed that the mission is the outcome of their lifelong efforts, and it is our tribute to them to continue their work and help spread the ideals they represented. The chairman of this session, Dr. Karan Singh, a member of the Rajya Sabha, spoke on how Ramakrishna had reinstated the true interpretations of the Vedanta, inspiring people to go back to the fold of Vedantic Hinduism. He praised the various institutions flourishing under the aegis of the mission and ended by mentioning change as the key word in today's society, and how Vivekananda's Vedanta allows us to respond to and evolve with change.
We are in a critical and crucial juncture in our long and tortuous history on this planet. Old certitudes are dissolving, the new refuses to be born, and sometimes it appears that we are adrift on an ocean without any landmarks. And yet, as Swamiji has said, the landmarks are all there, glowing in all their beauty. They are these great ideals of the Vedanta, and there is the light which is within us. Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. The light is within us.
The crowd kept swelling as more and more devotees poured to attend the programs on the last day of the devotees' convention. The fifth session in the forenoon seemed to be very popular. The topic for discussion was Holy Mother, her message to the modern world. Swami Gokulananda, Secretary of the Ramakrishna Mission in New Delhi, opened the session with his keynote address. He said that the Holy Mother, Sri Sharada Devi, was a model for everyone, as she represented grace and wisdom. He pointed out that in a predominantly patriarchic society, women needed an ideal, and the Holy Mother is the perfect example, as she was the first person to put Ramakrishna ideals into practice.
Human being, be it man or woman, and how to be a perfect individual.
Dr. Bondita Bhattacharya, a reader in Bengali from Lady Brabourne College, Calcutta, through a well-delivered poetic oration, mentioned that society is constantly changing with times, and so is the role of the woman. Nevertheless, humility, purity, generosity, selfless sacrifice, and spiritual strength are still expected in a woman, and the Holy Mother was a storehouse of all these. Indeed, she was purity incarnate. She was a unique woman who had the capacity even to look upon her older and spiritually enlightened husband as her child. Dr. Rajalakshmi Verma, reader in Sanskrit from Allahabad University, in a short and precise manner stated that Sharada Devi was the ideal prototypical mother.
उसने समान करुणा के साथ, समान ममता के साथ प्रत्येक व्यक्ति को अपने आंचल में समेट लिया, न जाति का भेद, न वर्ण का भेद और न ही योग्यता की अपेक्षा। वे कहती थी कि अगर मेरे किसी बच्चे के शरीर पर धूल लगी हो तो क्या मेरा ये कर्तव्य नहीं है कि मैं उस धूल को साफ कर उसे अपनी गोद में बिठा लूं। उपले भी पाटती थी, परिवारजनों की देखरेख भी करती थी, उनकी ऊंच नीच बातें भी सुनती थी, और ऐसी ही परिस्थितियां तो हम सब के जीवन में होती हैं।
Swami Srikarananda, Assistant Secretary Ramakrishna Moth and Ramakrishna Mission, said that the Holy Mother was purity personified. She taught us to forgive other people's faults, correct our own and strive towards desirelessness. She was the ideal of every woman. The last speaker in this session was the chairperson, Dr. M. Lakshmi Kumari, the director of Vivekananda Kendra Vedic Vision Foundation from Kadungalur in Kerala. She called upon all women to chalk out and embark on an action plan to bring back dharma to our lives in the 21st century. She stressed that a mother should be free of boundaries and barriers, such as her family, her children, or even her home, and be more universal in her approach to life.
Let us bring the dharma back and see that 21st century again will be a century in which the various nations will look towards India again.
It was time for lunch, and one noticed the elaborate first aid and healthcare facilities that had been arranged for by the Ramakrishna Mission Seva Pratishthan. The mobile ambulance and the first aid booths catered briskly to the needs of several ailing devotees. In the after-lunch cultural session, delegates were regaled by soulful bhajans sung by Swami Purushottamananda, the head of the Ponampet Center in Karnataka.
Shri Ganesha, Shri Ganesha, Shri Ganesha Rakshama. Manoja Uttishthata Jagrata, Manoja Uttishthata Jagrata, Guryanu Seruvavaregu, Ni Arekshana Nillade Monnade Sakane Uttishthata Jagrata, Manoja Uttishthata Jagrata, Manoja Uttishthata Jagrata.
Swami Sarvagananda from Narendrapur offered a garland of devotional songs. The final session of the All India Devotees Convention was crowded with people waiting to hear the discussion on service as a way of life. Swami Bhajanananda, Assistant Secretary of the Ramakrishna Moth and Ramakrishna Mission, opened the session with his keynote address. He explained that service meant not only giving of gifts and donations, selfless work for the benefit of others out of love and affection was a better kind of service. But by far, the best is spiritual service to mankind.
For the welfare of other people. Is this possible?
Dr. Shail Pandey, reader in Hindi from Allahabad University, pointed out that Jnana, Bhakti and Yoga were the different paths which led to God. Dr. Vasudev Burman, Vice Chancellor of Kalyani University, stressed on the importance of creating an atmosphere where each person loved his neighbor and respected him. The training to serve others should be imparted from a tender age. Sri S. Ramakrishnan, Executive Secretary and Director General of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, Mumbai, observed that Sri Ramakrishna's dictates on service are unique and phenomenal in the history of India.
These two centenary celebrations are going on for the last nearly a year, and we conclude them today.
Revered Swami Ranganathanandaji Maharaj, the Vice President of Ramakrishna Mountain Mission, inspired everyone with his words. He requested that all the devotees present should consider the multitude of human life milling around them as gods for the next 50 years. Only then could the nation be rejuvenated and the message of Ramakrishna be spread.
We can relate to each other in a society.
As he himself says,
Revered Swami Bhuteshanandaji Maharaj, President of the Ramakrishna Math and Ramakrishna Mission, was requested to deliver the benediction. He explained that to serve God in all beings is practical religion, and that it is the highest form of service that can be expected of a devotee. Revered Maharaj implored that the devotees return to their homes remembering to seek God in every individual, as this would make the world a better place to live in.
The way of life that we have for our subject this evening. It is the ancient saying of the scriptures that Sarva Bhuteshu Yah Pashed Bhagavad Bhavam Atmana Bhutani Bhagavatyatman Esha Bhagavatottama. He is the supreme among the devotees who see God everywhere and see them in his own self. Now that is what is the teaching, the gist of Sri Ramakrishna's teaching.
Finally, Swami Smaranananda, General Secretary of Ramakrishna Mountain Mission, thanked all the individuals, authorities and institutions who had made the convention a great success.
And many of the people who have helped us to make this celebration a grand success, I will be reading out those names.
The session closed with a song by Swami Jitatmananda, the head of the Ramakrishna Ashrama, Rajkot. It was time for the last cultural program and the Sarod recital by Ustad Amzad Ali Khan with Onindo Chatterjee in accompaniment made the evening memorable. It was a fitting finale to a historic event. By the time the program ended, it was dark, and time for the devotees to recall and remember the inspiring words they had listened to in the last few days. And as they left, it was evident that they wished to go home and practice with earnestness what was discussed from that very night. As the night wore on, all activity on the campus and the crowds vanished. What remained was the illuminated mud, looking like a beacon of the invincible truth and an unfailing source of inspiration to every man for centuries to come.